Welcome back, everybody. My name is Stacia, and I'm just a girl on the internet that likes to talk about movies. And this week's movie is going to be the 1940 classic, The Philadelphia Story. The Philadelphia Story stars Katherine Hepburn as Tracy Lord. She is a socialite who has been married before to C.K. Dexter, played by Cary Grant. They divorced after a couple of years, and it's been a few years since they were married, and she is about to get married again to George Kitteridge, who is played by John Howard. Now, the magazine that Cary Grant's character works for, Spy Magazine, is going to do a story about the wedding, or they have some ulterior motives about what they're really trying to get the scoop on. And they use Cary Grant's character to get an in with the family because they were married, so he has connections. Her family still loves him, especially her little sister. And he is an in for James Stewart's character of Macaulay Connor, who goes by Mike, and the photographer Elizabeth, played by Ruth Hussey. This movie also has Roland Young in it playing Uncle Willie, John Halliday playing Seth Lord, Tracy Lord's father. Mary Nash plays Margaret Lord, who is Tracy's mother. We also have Virginia Weidler playing Tracy's sister Dinah. This movie is also directed by the legendary George Cukor. And Katherine Hepburn actually picked George Cukor as the director because they had a successful collaboration before, making the 1933 movie Little Women. They would go on to work on a couple of movies together even after The Philadelphia Story. This movie is based on a Broadway play of the same name that was written specifically for Katherine Hepburn by Philip Berry. She played Broadway over 400 performances of this play. She was attached to Howard Hughes at the time, and this is the time in Katherine Hepburn's career where she was considered box office poison, and that lasted through most of like the mid 30s through the late 30s, her box office poison status. And she had Howard Hughes help her buy the rights to this movie and shop it around so she could make it her comeback film. Now, it was difficult for her to sell the project, but she does end up selling it, of course, to MGM. They paid $150,000 for the rights to the play and $75,000 for Katherine Hepburn as her fee to star in it, which she wouldn't have sold the rights to any movie studio because lots of them offered to just buy the rights to the film because so many of them didn't want her in it that she refused to sell the rights unless there was a deal for her to star in it. So part of the deal included that she got 45% of the profits of this movie. The screenplay for The Philadelphia Story was written by David Ogden Stewart, who has said that he had very little writing to do because the play was so well written and transferred to screen just beautifully. But David Ogden Stewart, the screenwriter, also wrote movies such as An Affair to Remember and Katherine Hepburn's movie Summertime. The budget for this movie was just under $1 million, and it made over $3.3 million at the box office, which made it a huge hit. It was the hit that Katherine Hepburn needed to revive her career. It actually broke a box office record at Radio City Music Hall, grossing $600,000 in just 6 weeks. So the deal with MGM making the deal and letting Katherine Hepburn star in it is that her two leads opposite her had to be huge stars. Clark Gable to play the role of Cary Grant's character, and Spencer Tracy to play Jimmy Stewart's role. They both had other commitments, and that's what led to Jimmy Stewart and Clark Gable getting cast. The two big stars that Louis B. Mayer wanted in the movie. It made him more easy about making the movie with Katherine Hepburn because he was trying to hedge his bets by using two other big stars that were huge box office hits at the time. And the basic premise of the Philadelphia Story, it is sort of a love triangle film, more of a love pentagonal film, because there's basically 5 people swimming around in this story that all have feelings for each other. But I think it basically boils down to the character of Tracy Lord, this rich socialite who grew up getting everything she wanted, actually not knowing herself. And this movie falls into the category of romantic comedy where it is a divorced couple that ends up still being in love with each other, which was quite a thing even in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, even today. Even though the societal standards back then frowned on divorce, it was a thing then to have these type of movies where it's a couple that broke up seemingly falling out of love, but actually really meant for each other in the end. And yes, like I said, huge box office hit. It was the pickup in her career that Katherine Hepburn absolutely needed at the time. And also critically acclaimed. It was almost universally praised by everybody. And so this really just cemented Katherine Hepburn's career. In the New York Times, they said this movie has just about everything that a blue chip comedy should have. A witty romantic script delivered by David Ogden Stewart out of Philip Berry's successful play, the flavor of high society elegance in which the patrons invariably luxuriate, the flavor of high society elegance, and a splendid cast of performers headed by Katherine Hepburn, Jimmy Stewart, and Cary Grant. If it doesn't play out this year and well along into next, they should turn Music Hall into a shooting gallery. Metro director George Cukor have graciously made it apparent in the words of a character that one of the prettiest sights in this pretty world is the privileged class enjoying their privileges. I guess this very much is looking into the privileged class. They make no secret of their wealth. They make no secret that Katherine Hepburn's character is a spoiled rich girl. The only characters that don't come from extreme wealth in this movie are Jimmy Stewart's character and Ruth Hussey's character, the reporter, writer, and the photographer. They are the only one who are just us common folks in it and marveling at what wealthy people do. And besides, box office wise and critically, this was also a hit at the Oscars in 1941. So the movie was released in December of 1940 and continued to be a box office hit well into 1941. It was nominated for 6 Oscars in 1941. It was a Best Picture nominee. It was a Best Director nominee. A Best Writing Screenplay nominee. It also won that category. And in the acting categories, Jimmy Stewart was nominated and won the Best Actor Oscar. And he didn't really think he deserved that Oscar. It's seen by him and a lot of people as his consolation prize for not winning the previous year for his role in Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. He thought that Henry Fonda should have won for his role in The Grapes of Wrath. And this is the famous Oscar that James Stewart won and sent the Oscar to his father. And he displayed it in a glass case in his hardware store in Indiana. But Katherine Hepburn is also nominated for Best Lead Actress for The Philadelphia Story, and Ruth Hussey is nominated for Best Supporting Actress. The Philadelphia Story was also remade in the 1950s as a musical featuring the music of Cole Porter. And you might have heard of it. It is a movie called High Society with Grace Kelly, Frank Sinatra, and Bing Crosby. And that also ended up being a big hit. And obviously, very different tones of movies from each other, that being a musical in full, vibrant color. But nonetheless, the story and everything was a hit then as it was in 1940. And remembering that this movie wasn't released until December 1940, so how big of a hit was this movie in 1941? It was the 5th highest grossing movie at the box office of 1941. And The Philadelphia Story is a beloved classic movie rom-com. Even Miss 90s rom-com, early 2000 rom-com herself, Julia Roberts, calls this her favorite romantic comedy. Also, Alan Rickman did say that this is his favorite romantic comedy. And it is ranked number 5 by the American Film Institute on their top 10 films in the romantic comedy genre. It is also listed on the American Film Institute's 2000 list of the 100 funniest American movies, and is listed in the book 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. Along with it being part of the Criterion Collection, it is spine number 901 in that collection. And last but not least, this film was inducted into the National Film Registry for Preservation in 1995. And this movie was shot in a backlot in Hollywood, California, the old MGM Studios, which is now Sony Studios in Culver City. So if you ever go there and take the studio tour, ask about filming locations for The Philadelphia Story. So yes, for any film fan, if you haven't seen The Philadelphia Story from 1940, for any rom-com fan, you should really also watch The Philadelphia Story just to get to know some of the origins and some of the history of the genre. Like I said, it's one of the favorite movies of a lot of people in the rom-com category. But thank you for joining me this week. My name is Stacia, and I'm just a girl on the internet that likes to talk about movies. Thank you so much for joining me. See you next time. Love you all. Bye.